Saturday at Brands Hatch, and we had the continuation of the Honda British Talent Cup for 2022. The grid might look a bit thin. That's because this is a 10-lap restart following a multiple rider crash off the first start of the race. Thankfully, all 6 riders involved escaped serious injuries. Evan Belford had a problem with the bike and came from a pit lane start. In the meantime, he had to pull straight back into the pit lane within a few minutes, and he was out of the race. What a shame after returning from injury earlier this season to win at Knockhill in Scotland last time out. Incredible performance up at the front though by the newcomer Emmanuel Brinton, who's racing this year in the European Talent Cup, until lap 9 of 10 when he threw it away from second place at Druids. Johnny Garness came through his 5th victory from 9 starts so far this year, side by side for second. Crosby beats Carter Brown, and now we move in to the second half of the season. So welcome back to Brands Hatch, and welcome along to the second and final race of the weekend for the Honda British Talent Cup of 2022 on the 2.5 mile full version Grand Prix circuit here in the Garden of England in Kent. We've had one race already on Saturday, won by Johnny Garness to extend his championship lead, but let's see what Matt Rasbroek can do here from 6th on the grid. He was 4th in yesterday's race, the Belgian-born Dutch rider. Remember, they line up according to fastest laps from race 1. Carter Brown, 3rd yesterday, the 15-year-old on the MLab Vision Track Academy. He is a title contender. Emmanuel Brinton, incredible debut here until that crash on the penultimate lap on Saturday. He was up there in second place, having qualified on the front row of the grid. Here is the Banks Racing machine of yesterday's second place finisher, the 16-year-old Harrison Crosby. He's up on the front row. To his left will be his namesake, also 16 years of age, number 55, Harrison Desoy, on the Eastern Garage Racing Cresswell machine. But on the pole position, once again, to give him his full name, Jonathan Albert Garness, named after his granddad and his great-granddad. You can see the number 50 on the top of his crash helmet for Wig, who was his dad Tom's great mate, who they sadly lost in a tragic accident just before Knockhill last time out. Can Johnny do the double here as we move into race 10 of 18? The second half of the season starts right here, right now, at Brands Hatch. Greg Haynes with you, and we are joined on this glorious afternoon at 2 o'clock local time by the former national Superstock champion of Britain, Taylor Mackenzie, who these days is the big boss man, the team principal of the MLab Vision Track Academy in the Moto3 World Championship. You've made the 68 steps up from the ground floor to the suites here, the Mike Groves suites. It's a long way up, and it's a very hot afternoon.
Yeah, I'd also forgot that I was meant to be here, which added to my to my running over here. I was just
nice to see you too, by the way.
Yeah, and you, Greg.
Nice to hear you were looking forward to it.
I'm glad the cameras aren't on us now because I'm sweated quite heavily.
It's a long, long way up. Where have you actually come from? Somewhere across the other side of the circuit?
I was on the other side of the track, just quickly doing the podium interviews with Shaky, and then got soaked by Tyrone Mackenzie with champagne, which was very kind of him.
Yeah, your brother's had a pretty good start to the day here, hasn't he? Johnny Garness has had a pretty good first half of the season, a 33-point lead over his teammate Carter Brown. Keanu Vaya, the Dutch rider, struggling here at Brands, but still 3rd in the standings. Remember, it's points down to 15th position. We've seen the first few riders on the grid, but here's a reminder. Garness, Desoy, Crosby is row 1. Then it's Brinton, watch out for him. Can he get a finish this time from Brown and Rasbroek on row 2? Hitchcock, McKay, Stevenson, Via, Bannister, Lucas Brown. It's a big, big grid. I'm afraid to say Harley McCabe will not be starting. Jordan Pritchard and Nathan Smith from the MLab Vision Track Academy have decided not to put him into this race, despite a very lucky being declared fit. Very lucky escape yesterday in the multiple collision, which we'll see again in a moment. But all the riders towards the back of the grid, Mounsey, Stuart Campbell, Edmonds, Rowan and Surawatch are there because they didn't set times in yesterday's race. And here's the reason why. Taylor said it was one of the scariest crashes he'd ever seen at Brands Hatch. Sullivan Mounsey's chain has come off. Look at McCabe, headbutts the barrier. Bailey Stuart Campbell, one of several riders who has to just run into the carnage there, and it's an absolute miracle that everybody involved in this escaped significant injuries yesterday. That brought out the red flag. it doesn't get any better to watch. That was a scary crash.
They do say you bounce well as a youngster, and it's just as well, because I think if that was adults in that crash, there'd be a lot more injuries. Harley was incredibly unlucky and just a bit of a freak accident, really, to have his arm come off the bike and then had nowhere to go and hit the wall. And then obviously, with it being the first lap, it just kind of compounded everything. So I'm pleased to say they're all relatively okay. Harley had a big knock yesterday, and as a team, they decided to not let him out there. I think it was the right decision. They're all young kids. They've got plenty more years ahead of them yet, and they need to look after themselves.
Well, look at this guy. Absolutely fantastic weather conditions here at Brands Hatch. Bit of a stoppie for Carter Brown as he pulled up to 5th position on the grid. A reminder, this man, shark teeth helmet, Johnny Garnes on the pole, Desoy second, Crosby third. Easy to see Harrison Crosby on the yellow bike. Here he comes, third on the grid. Brinton, Brown, Rousbrook, the Belgian-born Dutch rider, will start 6th. And watch out for Sullivan Mounsey flying through from row 9, 27th on the grid. Blue bike with a bright yellow crash helmet. So watch out for Sullivan Mounsey. Here we go then, the second half of the season. It's race 10 of 18 this year. It will be go when the lights go out, and the lights go out now at Brands Hatch. Good start for Crosby from third on the grid. MLAF Vision Track Academy riders charging through. Garnes, though, that is an absolutely sensational getaway from pole position, looking to extend his championship lead here at Brands in the searing heat this afternoon. Number 55, Harrison Desoy, is up into second place. Brinton was away well. He's looking for a finish. Emmanuel Brinton, who's making his debut in the British Talent Cup this weekend as a European Talent Cup rider. Perfect getaway for Johnny Garnes. We get down towards Graham Hill Bend without the trouble we had this time yesterday, and everybody, Taylor Mackenzie, is away cleanly.
Yeah, a much better start today. Yesterday was a lot of melee out of Druids, and unfortunately Carter and Crosby haven't managed to get away with the front bunch like they did yesterday. They cut through the pack and had the pace at the end of the race to put them higher up on the grid as Brinton was on the grass there. Really easy for that to happen there. You'll notice as they come out of Surtees that the track actually comes back on itself a little bit. If you're alongside someone just as you go to overtake them, at that exact point the track sticks right out and it's easy to end up on the grass. Luckily on smaller bikes it's not too much of a problem.
Oh, that was scary with a capital S. It's a 14-lap race, but it was almost a half-lap race there for Emmanuel Brinton. Manages to get away with that one, and he's chasing after Harrison Desoy. But look up the road, Garnes, very handy advantage. Garnes leads, Desoy is second, Brinton is third. Just Keanu Via, number 53 here, just been passed by Harrison Crosby at Stirling's, but Keanu's made a good start to this one as he flies up through the order. He comes down towards the end of the opening lap at Clearways. Huge crowd here at Brands, and they still haven't settled themselves out yet as they get round through Clark Curve and into the Brabham Straight.
Via, interestingly, was really strong at tracks like Donington, and he struggled a little bit this weekend to match, because we remember him from the start of the season battling it with Johnny because they're quite similar in size, and been a little bit more difficult for him this weekend.
There's Brinton through into second place, but that was a big mistake by Desoy, wasn't it? Down at paddock, and he's backed himself now into Crosby and Via. And behind them is McKay. Rousbrook's in there as well. Now here's a replay. Look on the left-hand side. Look at Brinton.
You see there, the first little part of that, there's actually, it's like black plastic on the inside of the track, so it looks like tarmac. That was the first bit where it looked like he's off the track. Not a lot happens, but then it does become grass, and that was also very close there.
Yeah, sorry, that was the two Harrisons. That was Crosby on the inside, Desoy on the outside, nearly making contact, and Alfie Davidson's race is over, pulling into the pit lane here underneath us in our commentary position. Now, is it just me, or is Brinton actually chasing off after Johnny Garnes and trying to reel him in, because it looks like he is?
Yeah, definitely. Look at Brinton's sectors there. He's setting his fastest sectors of the race. The first sector was actually the fastest out of everyone, so definitely charging hard, trying to get on the back of Johnny, and he really can't afford to let him get away, because yesterday, once Johnny got into a rhythm and got away from everyone, it was very difficult for him to get back.
Oh, and Desoy's back underneath Crosby as they come up through the old Dingledale and Sheen curve. Now the track goes left into Stirling's, right behind them Harrison McKay, then it's Via. Rousbrook didn't make the best of starts, he's in 7th place. Reece Stevenson's making progress after a difficult start to the weekend in free practice sessions 1 and 2 on Friday, and then Hitchcock's up there as well. Correa, the rider from America who had to go off onto the grass yesterday to avoid all of that chaos on lap 1, is fighting through as well. 12th at the moment when they last crossed the line. But look at this, Desoy, Crosby, there's Microlist bikes all over the place, and there's another one going through as well. So that's Via taking Harrison McKay. Let's see whether Crosby can come back at Desoy. And as they cross the line at the front, Garnes responded with that fastest lap of a 36.9, and the lead is up to 9/10 of a second.
Yeah, Brinton's able to pull him back in the first and the last sector, but it's the second and third sector, which is the fast and flowing section of the track, that Johnny's able to pull away through Surtees here and onto the back straight, especially. Well, again, if we just look at the first sector, Brinton's pulled another 0.1 back on him, so it's a bit of cat and mouse at the moment.
Bad start for Carter Brown, championship contender down into 9th place. Brilliant start though for Sullivan Mounsey, number 4, who's up into 15th, just going through the shot there. Blue bike, bright yellow helmet. Bailey Stewart Campbell on the pink and black machine, fighting through from the back as well. Regular front runners who couldn't get laps in yesterday because of the crash. Here then is Sullivan Mounsey, and we found out later on, Taylor, that his chain came off, and that's why he was slowing and got slammed into by Harley McKay. But what a great charge from the back of the grid. He's up to 14th now.
Yeah, incredibly unlucky. It's a very rare thing in motorbike racing for your chain to come off, so, and very bad timing for it to happen just at the start of the race. So great pass there, classic block pass into Sterling's. It's easy to quite do that if you can get up the inside and stop your bike along the inside, then they've got nowhere to go and have to let you pass.
Crosby on the Banks Racing machine, then run by Pete Banks. He's from just up the road is Harrison Ashford here in Kent. He's also a member of the Pro 83 Academy, run by British Superbike rider Danny Buchan. He's also running Zap Corduroy in British Supersport, and Evan Pendrell in the R6 Cup over in the CIV series in Italy. But Desoy will just not give in, will he? He's 16 years of age, the Basildon rider, the oldest rider on the grid at 16. And Rhys Stevenson, I think I can see some flashes of the Lincolnshire flag cutting through. Rhys Stevenson is now open to 8th place, really progressing well. Like I say, difficult start to the weekend, struggled to make an impression in race 1 yesterday, managed to get up into 8th, but he never got to 8th this early in the race. There he is, number 23 on the black bike. Behind them is the 43 of Ryan Hitchcock, and the second black bike is Lucas Brown.
Yeah, Rhys earlier in the year at Donington Park had an amazing ride. He was so strong, he had a lot of corner speed, he can let the brakes off and rail round riders. He unfortunately crashed in that race, but definitely a talent, and it's amazing, this whole front bunch, all the way, all the riders on your screen now. It's hard to pick someone out of all of those because they're all one weekend stronger than the other.
Oh, this is getting so tight. It's the two Harrisons again now. Are they going to risk backing themselves into Rousebrook and the rest? Well, not at the moment, because it's a pretty handy margin back to Desoy's teammate there, one of his many teammates, who's actually lost a place, I think, as they come up through Sheen Curve. Yeah, Rhys Stevenson, I've heard a bit of a whisper that he might be moving across to the MLAV Vision Track Academy next year. Nothing's been done or anything like that, but I think there's been talks going on. Can you shed any light on it?
I can neither confirm nor deny, Greg.
Oh, you've become a real team principal. You've gone all Leon Cameo, haven't you?
The real reason that is I haven't spoken to Michael and I don't know the answer to your question.
Okay, fair enough.
I'm sure he's a fantastic rider, and I'm sure something like that will be on the cards.
Yeah, he's really, really going well, isn't he, with his family-run team as Crosby comes back underneath Desoy.
The lap there, Brinton had a very bad lap. He did 38. He lost nearly a second and a half to Johnny there. I'm not sure if he's got a problem or if he's or what's happened, but that's going to pull him back into the group behind if he keeps lapping at that pace.
Well, we saw this happen yesterday as well, didn't we? Into sort of this time, a little bit later in the race yesterday, and it was only 10 laps yesterday. You see Garness on the graphics there has set a new record, so he's gone underneath the 36.8 that Franco Bourne set 2 years ago by 0.4 of a second on a 36.4. There's Keanu Vaya. Now, he's from a real racing family. His dad, Johan, used to race in World Supersport. His cousin, Colin Vire, is a front runner in the Red Bull MotoGP Rookies Cup, and 52 there, Evan Belford signalling to his teammate, Ryan Hitchcock, follow me, because if we work together, we can attack these guys. And as our director, Richard Coventry, so finally puts it, it works all the time, that one.
Yeah, I'm yet to see it work.
I don't know why they do it. Why do they do it? Because, I don't know, do the team principals encourage that? Surely they don't.
You grow out of it. It's a phase thing. Once you've done it enough times, you realise it doesn't work. By the time you get to 21, you realise that it's probably not working. I'll just keep concentrating on what I'm doing.
Oh, well, there's the 61 in the middle of this scrap as well. That's Harrison McKay, the rider from Lincoln, 14 years of age. All the riders in this class, 13 to 17. It's up this year from 12 to 13. Of course, we've seen changes all across the board with minimum ages increased. There is a minimum weight as well, though. A combined rider weight limit of 148 kilos. Right, let's have a look at Brinton's lap time this time. 37.1. Yeah, he's got it back together, hasn't he? Or has he? No, sorry, 37.6. Yeah, he seems to have recovered, but there he is. Let's see whether he does drop into the clutches of these guys, as he did yesterday. in the closing stages. Big news though, Carter Brown, championship contender. I said he'd made a bad start. Here he is at the end of lap 5 into the pit lane at Brands Hatch. He came into the round 24 points behind Johnny Garness this year, and that could potentially be a rather big turning point for the Honda British Talent Cup in 22. So one of the top runners is out of this race.
Yeah, that's a real shame for Carter. He's riding really well. He had a good, strong ride yesterday. Unlucky to get pipped just on the line, but he's putting together a really strong season. He's progressing as a rider, and yeah, a real shame for him.
So that would mean the gap would be 58 points if it stays like this, and it's looking good. Garness is 4 seconds in the lead. Okay, let's just take stock if you are just joining us. Lap 6 of 14. Garness leads by 4 seconds, as I say. Brinton looking for a podium on his debut weekend. And then you've got 3 seconds back to this scrap. And sure enough, Rousbrook has now joined the party against his teammate Desoy and the yellow bike of Crosby. 3rd, 4th, 5th. Under the bridge comes Reece Stevenson, who's now taking another 2 places, and he's up into 6th. Via is 7th, Hitchcock, McKay, Belford completing the top 10. Lucas Brown is 11th from Correa, who comes from Florida. Mounsey from the back of the grid is 13th now. Ollie Walker 14th, and Josh Bannister in 15th place. Now let's see whether Rousbrook can get in on the act here, because he's been watching these two for a while. He's reeled them in very nicely. And can he attack Crosby at Druids? He thought about it, Taylor.
Yeah, it's easy to get a run down the hill there, and then just as you go to the inside, the track obviously comes back for Druids. It tightens up really fast. So really, you've got to try and be alongside them on the brakes. Otherwise, by the time you do let the brakes off, they really start coming back across the front of you, and you have to brake too hard. And sometimes you see riders crash in that scenario. But yeah, he'll be looking to set that up again on the next lap.
Here we go, out of Surtees. Careful with the curves there. That was Harrison Desoy. They're approaching Pilgrim's Drop. Fast approaching half race distance in the second and final race of the weekend here in the Honda British Talent Cup at Brands Hatch in Kent. It's a scorching afternoon and a scorching performance at the front by Johnny Garness, but Rousbrook has now caught Desoy and Crosby as they fight for 3rd place. We thought it might happen, and it has, and he's looking really racy, Taylor.
Yeah, it's going to be a fantastic battle all the way to the end. The good thing with Brands Hatch is there's so many overtaking opportunities that it leads to really good racing, and because there's a bit of a straight as well, riders, whoa, big moment there. Just got on the power a little bit too early. It's easy to get caught out because as you're getting on the gas there, you still have to keep the bike leant over as you're coming onto clearways, and yeah, a little bit too much throttle and he was out the seat.
So up into 4th position thanks to that error from Crosby goes Rousbrook. Let's have another look.
So you see, you get off the brake at this point, just start opening the throttle here, but then the track also drops away from you at this point. Just as you're accelerating hard, you see he's still got full lean angle, and yeah, throws him out of the seat.
Oh, and one of the Cresswell bikes has now gone down and out of this race. Desoy was 3rd, Rousbrook was 4th as they headed up to Druids, and it is Harrison Desoy from 3rd place. I wonder what happened there. Rousbrook then on lap 8 moves up into 3rd place. Crosby is 4th despite the moment. Reece Stevenson now finds himself in the top 5. What's happened here with Desoy? He's side by side with his teammate Rousbrook. They've contacted into Druids, the ultimate no-no in motorsport, and Desoy is down. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear.
You know how I was saying when you get up along the inside and then suddenly it all tightens up and you end up coming together? That, I think, is unfortunately what's happened there. He was alongside him, but just as it tightens up and you're trying to turn in, there was nowhere to go, and they unfortunately clipped each other and went down. I hope he's okay.
Yeah, me too. He did walk away, so I think he is. I don't think John Cresswell's going to be very pleased about that, though. So Rousbrook is up onto a podium position, but I'm going to say a provisional one, because are we going to see a penalty come his way, or will they say it's a racing incident? I'm sure Eddie Roberts and Stuart Hicks will be having a look at that one in race control. No such questions to ask of the man at the front, though. Look at this now. Johnny Garness, number 57, from Ilfracombe in Devon. He's still only 13 years of age, and he leads the newcomer Brinton by just under 5 seconds. Let's see whether Crosby can come back at Rousbrook. I'm not sure he can, but here's Stevenson. And he's under big attack now from Ryan Hitchcock, who goes through on the approach to paddock. Keanu Via's in this gaggle as well, but he's actually lost a few positions. No, he's still there. He's the third in the train. So Stevenson goes back through, takes Hickshaw, but this is a great scrap going on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them all locked together.
All of these riders posting their fastest sectors as well, and some of them are the fastest sectors on the track.
Okay, we've just had it confirmed that the incident involving the two teammates that you can see in the middle of your picture is being investigated by the team you can see at the bottom of your picture. What's your call? It's difficult to ascribe blame in these situations, but what would you do?
Yeah, very difficult. I can see both riders' side of the story. Normally in these situations, both people think they're right. He was up the inside, a little bit of two lines coming together, but at the same time he did have to sit up quite aggressively to try and miss him and clipped him. So if he did sit up that fast, it's because he can't actually see him at that point. So difficult to say from that front camera angle. I wouldn't want to put blame on either of them. But yeah, not nice when it ends someone's race when they're in a podium position.
Yeah, and the MSV team have plenty of experience and plenty of different camera angles as well, with the CCTV shots from around the circuit here at Brands Hatch, and of course they do own this particular facility as well. Look at Correa there, number 40 from Jupiter, Florida, lives in Sheffield now. I was talking to him about it the other day, so it's quite a different sort of place to live in comparison with Florida. Quite a few changes to his diet, to the weather. Our director comes from Sheffield. He's saying it's not that
different.
I like how
you held in what your thoughts on Sheffield were there, Greg.
Well, only because the director's from Sheffield and he's got a lot of power. Anyway. No action taken, Taylor, on that incident. We've just heard it from said director. No action taken, so racing incident, that seems fair enough. You were sort of suggesting that.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult. He's gone up the inside. He didn't intentionally try and hit him. It was a little bit of the lines coming together. And I think in racing, obviously, no one wants to see someone go down. But at the same time, if we penalise every single... Well, that is amazing. I've never seen that before.
How on earth has that happened?
That's, yeah, I don't think I've ever seen that before.
That's Calvin Kerry's bike. Kelly's bike in the gravel at Clearways.
I presume he's just pulled in and then got off it, but if he had crashed it into that position, I'd be even more impressed.
Yeah, it was a technical, we just heard. But if he had crashed, I agreed, it would have been a particularly phenomenal achievement. But he hasn't. At least he's all right, but out of this race. Who on earth is going to get this position? Up the road, you can see the top three, but this is Crosby very much. Sorry, not the Crosby. This is for fifth position. So Via, Stevenson, Evan Belford's in there as well. Remember, these riders need to think about championship points. Yes, Garnett is a long way up the road. Yes, he's a long way up the road in the points as well, but you just don't know what's going to happen across the second half of this season. Every point counts. There's the highlighted riders you can see on the graphics. It's fifth through to Lucas Brown in 11th place. And Sullivan Mounsey, who started from the back, is in 12th place. So he's off this squabble, unfortunately. It looks like he's not going to get any further, but this could go any one of 7 ways. This is Clearways down the Jack Brabham straight. Of course, Jack Brabham, most famous for his 3 F1 world titles, and won it in his own car, the Brabham Repco, in 1966. And isn't this a great tribute on the 90th year, the 90th anniversary of motorcycle racing here at Brands Hatch? The first ever motorcycle race took place here in 1932, and what a scrap we've got going on here at Druids. 4 laps to go then, including this one, and it's Rhys Stevenson now from Skegness on the Rocket Racing bike who's punched through to the front. He really has progressed well across the weekend.
Yeah, and still setting his fastest sectors in some of these sectors. These riders really pushing forwards there. It's that Via just ran a little bit wide. The thing with Moto3 bikes, when you do run a little bit wide, suddenly you've got 5 people up your inside that quickly sneak past.
Oh, that didn't work out at all well for him, did it? They are all single-cylinder, 4-stroke Honda NSF 250 machines, identical bikes. Stevenson goes defensive, Belford behind him. And then the second red bike you've got in there is Ryan Hitchcock, number 43. The blue bike is Harrison McKay. 40 is Correa attacking Via, and Lucas Brown. Another small family-run effort there, number 29, pushed on all the time by his dad Lee at the back of the train. Oh, I tell you what, Belford needs the points as well, doesn't he? He was expected to be a title contender this year, but he was badly hurt at Silverstone. Came back to Knockhill last time and won a race, but he was trying to hope to fight back into the championship top 5. Under the Bennett's Bridge and into Clearways and Clark once again. This is great defending, I have to say, by Rhys Stevenson, with the flag of Lincolnshire on his fairings and on his helmet as well.
Yeah, if you were wondering at home why he's on the back straight, and you see here he's hanging to the right-hand side, the reason he's doing that is to try and stay on the inside, which forces the other riders to go the long way around the outside. unfortunately there he couldn't keep them behind him. It worked on the back straight before. It's a little bit more difficult at Clearways because the track opens up so much. There's a range of lines they can use, but being a bigger rider, it's harder for him to keep the smaller riders behind him.
Now here's Sullivan Mountain. You can see his progression from all the way down in 27th place on the grid. His chain came off yesterday. He slowed up just about here coming out of Druids and was hit by Harley McCabe. Horrible accident if you haven't seen it, but a miracle nobody was badly hurt. As you can see for yourself, he's now up into 12th place. Ollie Walker behind him. Bit of a conundrum, Ollie Walker, number 48. He was so strong, wasn't he, last year? And I think he's just had a bit of a confidence knock this year, Taylor, and it's put him back a little bit. He's run by Steve Patrickson, who we were talking about yesterday. Really experienced man in these smaller classes, and it'll be great to see Ollie over the next few rounds back up towards the front of the field. And he's not going to be going to Thruxton until after the Silverstone Grand Prix, but that will be his home round, so let's hope for some good luck for him.
Yeah, if anyone could get a rider going, it will be Steve Patrickson. He's got so many years in this championship, not only on the 4-stroke 250s, but also the 2-stroke 125s before. So he's a great guy, really kind and helpful, and I'm sure he'll be doing everything he can for him.
And poor old Reece Stevenson, how has that happened? He's fallen all the way from the front of this pack, almost towards the back of it. Remember, he was holding up the rest of them, defending really well in 6th place, but he's fallen right back now. Lucas Brown looks as though he's gone through as well. Poor old Reece. In the meantime, Garness, penultimate lap, 7.6 seconds up the road. Now let's see whether Brinton can get to the podium. Is he being caught though by Rousbrook? Last lap by Rousbrook was a 10th quicker, so he's catching him, but it's not enough. Crosby through the shot, and then you've got Belford, Hitchcock, his teammate, McKay. Behind McKay is Keanu Vite, then it's Lucas Brown, Stevenson, and Correa. Something must have gone really pear-shaped for Stevenson though, coming around Surtees sort of part of the track last time around.
Yeah, I didn't actually see what happened, but the fact with Moto3 is because they are so tightly packed together, one mistake and it costs you 6 places. We've seen it in so many races already this year, and we've got yellow flag out here at Surtees. Not again, it's Brinton.
I do not believe it. Emmanuel Brinton crashed out of 2nd place on the penultimate lap of race 1 on Saturday. Emmanuel Brinton, deja vu, crashes out of 2nd place on the penultimate lap on Sunday.
I can't believe it. He was really putting a strong race together. I was just going to say, the lap before he did a 37.2, his fastest lap of the race was a 37.1, so still posting fast, consistent times. Whether Roosbrook just put the pressure on, even though he's a second and a half behind, just by staying there, the gap wasn't changing on the pit board. And yeah, unfortunately, looks like he'll probably have lost the front going into Surtees.
And there's the man he was trailing. Garness comes through down the Brabham Straight, across the line, and starts the 14th and final lap here at Brands Hatch. And that lead now, of course, increases massively to the man who was in 3rd place. So Rousbrook is now on for 2nd place in this race. Up into 3rd will go Harrison Crosby, and this now becomes an all-teammate fight for 4th position. Now, we've already seen teammates colliding earlier in this race at Druids. Hopefully we're not going to see it again as McKay goes side by side with Lucas Brown. Stevenson's in there as well. I can't believe Brinton though. I can't believe it's 2nd day in a row.
Yeah, well, a real shame. I just want to give a shout out to Johnny Garness, because we haven't actually talked about him that much. He's absolutely dominated this race, and I was talking to Michael Laverty about him yesterday. Riding in Europe has been such a benefit to him. You can see now how much he's progressed at this round, and I didn't realise that the last round at the CEV Championship he was actually starting from the back of the grid and worked his way all the way through to 8th.
Yeah.
And to do that in a championship like that, there's so many good riders over there in Europe, and you're racing against the best up-and-coming youngsters, and you can see now it's progressed him so much here, and he's reaping the benefits of that.
And Belford here telling Hitchcock to stay behind him again. He thinks he can catch Crosby, obviously, and he actually is catching him rapidly, but I'm sure if Hitchcock has half a chance, he will attack him. Look how much track he's using.
The last lap, Crosby did 40.4. I'm not sure if anything, what happened there or why he's lost so much on one lap, but not got long left to catch him.
I don't know whether he was distracted by the yellow flags or Brinton crashing, but he wasn't exactly close to him, was he? So something's gone wrong. He must have a problem. He's right on his rear wheel, and Harrison Crosby looks as though he's going to lose 3rd position. Johnny Garness, though, comes through to do the double for the first time in 2022. His 6th victory from 10 races. Rousbrook will be on the podium, and Evan Belford sweeps around the outside of Harrison Crosby, who's clearly in trouble, and he's even going to lose another one. Evan Belford comes through to grab that podium place. Crosby down to 4th, and Ryan Hitchcock is in the top 5, and then it's fire. McKay's in there, but he's been passed by Lucas Brown. Stevenson is 9th, and Correa is in 10th place. But I can't believe what Brinton did again. on the penultimate lap. Can you believe as well the performance of Johnny Garness? Let's be honest, he was the favourite coming into the season, but it all looked so complicated, didn't it, at Silverstone, and nothing was settled. But since then, 6 races now, Taylor, from 10. 6 wins from 10 races.
Yeah, a lot of these races, Johnny's had the speed, but being in the bunch, he's been beaten up and he's been backwards and forwards passing, and sometimes he's dropped all the way back to 10th or somewhere and fought his way back through. But today, dominated from the front, and some more fantastic wheelies, which impressed me even more.
Well, it's going to take some stopping now, isn't it? He was leading Carter Brown by 24 points, and of course that was another significant happening over the last half an hour or so. His teammate Carter Brown, and we don't yet know what the problem was, came into the pit lane with that issue. Keanu Vaya's not had the finest of weekends either, has he? And he was 3rd in the standings coming into the weekend. So this is a big, big weekend for Johnny Garness. And we say this all the time, don't we? It's not just the fact you need to be first, and if you're not first, be second, but others are really inconsistent, aren't they? And it's helping to build that lead now.
Yeah, definitely. Johnny's he's racking up the big points. He's not just been 4th or 5th. Every time he's finished the race, he's been right at the front. And with the inconsistencies of the other riders, that's going to, if he can get a bit of a buffer in this championship, it makes his job easier at the end of the year, because he doesn't have to panic so much about winning races. And yeah, unfortunately Carter missed out on this occasion. Belford yesterday had a technical problem, so yeah, not easy.
Taylor, just quickly before Eurosport viewers come back from the break, first weekend of August, Silverstone GP, all these guys and girls will be there. You'll be there with the World Championship team. Thoughts for your first ever British Grand Prix as a team principal?
I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be amazing, not only with the Grand Prix team, but with the younger academy riders as well. It's a big weekend for Vision Track, our first home GP. Yeah. So yeah, it's going to be an amazing weekend. Make sure you're there. Yeah,
and that'll be on the first weekend of August. Johnny Garness pulls into the pit lane here at Brands Hatch. What a dominant performance, and it's certainly not the first time we've said that this year. He's come through to win for the 6th time from 10 race starts so far in 2022. What an incredible afternoon it was. It never really looked in doubt, did it? Jordan Pritchard, Nathan Smith, everybody at the MLab Vision Track Academy will be delighted. And of course, Johnny's dad Tom as well. So we got the full 14 laps today. Johnny Garness wins. It's the first time he's done the double in 2022. Out went Emmanuel Brinton from 2nd place on the penultimate lap for the 2nd day in a row. Can you believe? He went down at Druids yesterday, Surtees today. Roosbrook then 2nd, Belford up to 3rd, Crosby, I don't know whether he ran out of tyre or some sort of problem on the last lap, down to 4th. Hitchcock 5th from Via, damage limitation. Lucas Brown did really well to get to the front of that group there in 7th place. McKay, Stevenson, Correa, Mounsey from the back of the grid up to 11th. Really, really mature ride. Ollie Walker was 12th, and then it was Josh Bannister in 13th place from Clayton Edmonds. Another good performance, and the same goes for Alex Rowan. All of those guys coming through from the back of the grid. Bailey Stewart Campbell as well, for that matter, after being involved in that massive incident on the opening lap here on Saturday. Okay, this is going to be a big change in the standings. It was 24 between 1st and 2nd coming into the weekend, and look at that, up to 58 now. Carter Brown just holding 2nd. He's only 1 point ahead of Keanu Via, Desoy, Crosby, Hitchcock completing the championship top 6, and Rousbrook moves up into 9th place in the championship. He came into the weekend 13th. That's the Dutch rider, but actually born in Belgium, so making really good progress. And look how tight it is there from 5th down to about 10th. Harley McCabe did not start this race. The rider there in 17th position declared fit, thankfully, after going headfirst into a barrier yesterday, but clearly not feeling 100%. So he'll be back next time out for the British Grand Prix support meeting on the first weekend of August at Silverstone. Great to see Scott Ogden here as well, and he of course will be racing for Taylor Mackenzie alongside Josh Watley when they get to Silverstone in a couple of weeks' time.
Well, Johnny, I've got to say, you're making a little bit of a habit of this. There seems to have been a crash behind us. Trolley just collapsed there. That caught your attention. Johnny, fantastic race again. Led from the front. Job done.
Yeah, thank you for that. It was a brilliant race again. Led from the front, cleared off, but I think Emmanuel unfortunately crashed again, which meant I had a bigger gap, and I just kept on increasing the gap, and I was just easing off until the end. And yeah, I was just doing consistent lap times, and I came across the line first, and I'm really happy.
You couldn't ask to do more than that, mate. It was a fantastic job. Great to see you back up here. Well done.
Thank you.
Thank you to Shaky Byrne for the interview. He's a true pro as well, isn't he, Johnny, in these media interviews. What a brilliant, brilliant crowd here at Brands Hatch for the latest round of the Bennett British Superbike Championship. It's scorchio, not quite as hot as it was with the heat wave last weekend, but that's a good thing because that was too much to cope with. Look, the shirts are off, the sun cream is out. There's an ice cream van, I'm sure, making a lot of money, that particular man, here this weekend. And now we await the podium for Belford. Rousbrook, who's up there for the first time ever, really strong performance, and Garness. And Rousbrook, of course, might have a little bit of explaining to do after the collision with his own teammates, and it took Harrison Desoy out of the race at Druids, but it was officially declared a racing incident by race control, who looked into it with the various angles they have available to them. Johnny Garness, though, what a season. A win at Silverstone, then caught up in a crash in the second race. Won again at Alton, third in the second race. Second in a win at Donington on the national track. Crashed out of the lead, an unforced error, rare for him at Knockhill, but then bounced back with a win in the second, and now win and win here at Brands, his first ever double. Alex Baldini, Rousbrook seems really pleased with that trophy, doesn't he? Number 84, 14 years of age. Like so many of these young races, he's based out in Valencia now. There he is on the left-hand side. Evan Belford, number 52, on your right. It's damage limitation. He's just trying to enjoy the races after missing so many of them through injury earlier this year. But is there any stopping Johnny Garness? The 13-year-old is on top of the world. Race 2 at Brands Hatch for the Honda British Talent Cup of 2022 was race 10 of 18 this year, and therefore we started the second half of the season. Great start to the race for Johnny Garness, and it would be a dominant win by almost 8 seconds from pole position and setting a new lap record as well. Emmanuel Brinton's been an absolute star this weekend. Qualified on the front row in qualifying, crashed out of second place on the penultimate lap, sadly though, in Saturday's race, and you won't believe what happened later in this one as well. But for now, Brinton was in second place. The two Harrisons fighting for third, Crosby on the yellow bike and right behind him Desoy on the red and white bike. And then this happened, can you believe it? Contact between teammates. Desoy taken out by Rousbrook, and then Brinton on the penultimate lap for the second day in a row crashes out of second place. Johnny Garness through though for his first ever career double to lead to the Silverstone Grand Prix support meeting on the first weekend of August. Can they stop Garness in 2022?